Hey guys, Ken Smith Fishing. My wife just made a funny face at me because I'm screwing this up for the 37th time. Anyway, this was supposed to be the second half of yesterday's video. My apologies. I glitched it with the camera. I put it on loop, didn't realize it, so I cut off a bunch. And I couldn't piece it back together. I thought it was just easier to re-record it, so that's why this is sort of part two to that video of yesterday and Wednesday coming to you on Thursday. So this is a conversation. If you don't know, so I've done a ton of prop testing from my couple of Rangers that I ran to now a couple of Bass Cats. I'm actually in the process of doing the Puma testing, and then a smaller boat we did on Ray Roberts a couple of years ago. I'll put a link to all those videos in a playlist above and also in the description below so you can get to those. But what I wanted to share with you was I continue to get, and by the way, I got 400-ish videos on YouTube. So if you want to talk to me, email me, kensmithfishing@outlook.com. And a lot of those emails wind up in phone calls because it's just easier. There's a whole bunch of guys that have my phone number. I'm not hiding from anybody. But it's impossible for me to go through as many comments as I get to see that you say, hey, what about this or what about that? So just email me if you got a question. But I get very consistent types of questions around my prop testing in the past. And for the purpose of this conversation, we're only going to talk about non-surfacing lower units. If you don't know if you have a non-surfacing lower unit or not, you have a non-surfacing lower unit. So surfacing lower units are lower units that are generally on Go Fast boats. I would say mostly kind of Bullets and Allisons in the bass boat world. And they're designed basically for the motor to run up, come out the low. They got low water pickups on them, so that you don't blow your motor from not picking up water. And the prop, some portion, in a lot of cases as much as 3/8 of the prop comes out of the water. And so in those boats, you run usually 5-blade props because you need more blades to keep more pop biting in the water. They get a lot of slip in those props, so you run really high pitch props. Not our conversation today. The vast majority of us run the Torque Master or a Yamaha, which are both non-surfacing lower units. And the questions I get are around two things, around Hshot and around not getting top speed. Before we go down the prop conversation, let's just talk. I had a problem with one of my early 4-strokes that something called the idle screw wasn't set right, which I think really meant I had a linkage issue. But when I put my foot to the floor in that boat, and this was my fault, by the way, because I picked the boat up at the factory and didn't take it to the dealership for them to do their due diligence on it. My fault. But that motor, when I put it to the floor, was only getting, I think if I remember right, 82.5% throttle. I mean, I got this brand new boat and it was running 58 miles an hour and I was so disappointed. And the guy's like, yeah, here's the problem. And you know, I picked up literally 20 miles an hour once we got that fixed. So that is a possibility if everything we do here with props, or if we have a conversation, I may tell you, you need to go get that checked. You can have a foul plug. I knocked a spark plug wire loose one time putting a cowling back on a motor, and the motor ran like crap. Couldn't figure out why. It's because one of the spark plugs wasn't firing properly. So there can be mechanical issues, but let's talk specifically about prop-related issues. And the prop-related issues kind of come in two different schools or questions. The first one is around Hshot. So this is not what this is, but on a prop, on a 3-blade prop, there's usually 3 holes in the bottom of the prop. And they have little plugs that come with the prop. This is not one of them, but it's real similar to what they look like. They're about that big around. And there's full props, and there's ones that are, there's full plugs, excuse me, and then there's plugs that have a hole in them so that they don't let as much water in as if there was no plug in it, but they let some water in. The entire purpose of those is to let exhaust flow over the surface of the prop. So exhaust in a prop runs through the prop and exits the back of the prop. So when the guys call me and you say, I'm not getting any kind of Hshot, I'm going to ask you, which every guy who I've talked to will say this, I say, is it bogging down or is it revving up? So if it's bogging down, that means you don't have enough torque because of the size, either the diameter of the prop or the pitch of the prop ears, or both. You don't have enough torque in your motor to spin that prop up to get you on pad. So the easy fix to that is start removing your plugs, or reducing the size of your plug. You can remove 1, remove 2, remove 3. And what that allows is it allows exhaust to flow out of those holes over the surface of the prop and create cavitation, right? Basically you're spinning out like when you stomp on your truck tires and you burn rubber, and it allows the engine to spin up or spool up. You get RPMs and you can put it on the pad. And there's a lot of confusion about this. These make 0 difference at speed. Once you're on the pad, the pressure from the water flowing over the prop forces all that exhaust to go through the back of the prop. This has 0 performance once you're on pad. It makes no difference whether you have them all in or none of them in. So if you're bogging down, I will tell you to start pulling your plugs until you get enough flow, get enough air, if you will, over the surface of your prop to let the motor spool up, get enough RPMs to get the motor on plane. If you're spinning out, your tires are spinning, if you will, right, then you need to start putting them back in, because you got too much air flowing over the surface of your prop ears and you can't get bite. Pretty simple, right? So those are generally the 2 fixes for Hshot. Certainly there's questions. I get a lot of questions, and guys, I get the question a lot, what level do you set your jack plate? It doesn't matter what my jack plate's at, because my load's different than your load. Where my jack plate's mounted may be different than where your jack plate's mounted. I run a Bob's, you may run an Atlas. I mean, there's so many things. It's all trial and error. You just got to play with it. My Lynx, you had to run the jack plate in the dirt, gave me the best Hshot. The Puma, it's about 2. If I have it on 2 out of 10, it's my best Hshot. But it's all over the board. And I have never really had a Hshot problem either in my Bass Cats or in any of my Rangers either, to speak of. So I've been very fortunate with that. And some of that probably also is I run newer props. And obviously the newer the prop, the less dings in it, the better bites you're going to get out of those props. So let's talk about prop performance at speed. And I did another video, and I'll post a link to it above, that I talked about, where I talked about lithium batteries slowing boats down. And all that's happening is a boat is designed to set at some level in the water, right? And it's designed, most boats today, even today, were designed to have a couple, 200-300 pounds of batteries in the backs of the boats. And when you start pulling all the weight out of the back of that boat, it lets the back of the boat float up more. And what it does is it drops the nose. Now, it doesn't drop the nose, but in relation to the stern, it's dropping. So what guys are experiencing is they're having a lot less bow lift, because they have a lot more stern lift. And some guys are trying to remedy this by going to 4-blade props. And that does exactly the opposite. Without getting too technical about it, and again, there's always exceptions to this rule, but in general, a 4-blade prop is going to give you more stern lift. And if you get more stern lift, back of the boat, front of the boat, stern, bow, if you get more stern lift, it's going to push that nose down. So my experience has been that going to a 4-blade prop will cause your boat to get a lot of lift. It'll handle really well. It'll corner like it's on rails, but it'll be slower. Now, I'm going to mention this now, even though I'm going to talk about it later. A lot of guys are going to the Bravo, and generally speaking, so there's a Bravo 1, and then a lot of guys are actually buying the Bravo racing props, which are mostly the Bravo 1 FS, Mercury racing props. That is a prop, so without going into too great of details, pretty much all props that are mass produced have some flaw in them. They're slightly out of balance. If you order a 24 pitch prop, there may be one ear that's 23.5 pitch and another ear that's 24.5 inch and another is 24. And it's because when you're literally casting hundreds and thousands of props out of a die or whatever it's called, forgive me for not being too technical there, but they cool at different rates. Things happen, and those props just shape up differently. When you go to Mercury Racing, all of those props are tuned. They put them on a prop block. They make sure they're all matched up. and then they finish them. And a lot of times when they say they finish them, what they're doing is they're taking a little bit of metal off of them. They're making the blades a little bit thinner. They spin faster. They bite the water better. It's just a faster prop. I started to say it's a better prop. It's not. It's just a faster prop. So the Bravo 1FS, even though that's a 4-blade prop, that prop is actually tweaked in the design not to add transom lift, which is why it is the 4-blade prop versus the Fury 4-blade. There's a Fury 3-blade and a Fury 4-blade. The Bravo prop is a faster 4-blade prop than the Fury 4-blade. I'm not going to say it's faster than the 3-blade, but it's certainly faster than the 4-blade on most boats. Now, in general, I'm only talking Mercury props here. Sorry, Yamaha guys. There are 3 props that are kind of in this space, generally speaking. Now, I still run across guys trying to run trophy props, but a trophy prop is only a 13.8 diameter prop. It's a really small diameter prop. It's really designed to be run, I think their specs on it are 40 to 125 horsepower. So if for some reason you're running a 4-blade trophy, there's probably a more effective prop for you if you're running a 200 or bigger motor. Those props really are the Tempest Plus, which is a 3-blade prop, 14.6 inch diameter. The Fury 3 and the Fury 4-blade. The Fury 3-blade is a 14-inch diameter prop. The Fury 4-blade is a 14.5 inch diameter prop. And then the Bravo props. You can buy a traditional Mercury Bravo prop, or you can buy the Bravo 1 FS or the Bravo 1 Lab Finish. Again, in general, well, in my prop testing experience, how about that? I got the same top end speed turning that big blade, that Tempest 3, as I got out of my Fury. The problem is, to get the same speed, I had to go to, well, if I remember right, and don't hold me to this, I believe I was turning a 24 pitch Tempest, and I was running a 25 pitch Fury. Bigger prop, lower pitch, smaller prop, higher pitch, to get the same speed, but I couldn't get near the hole shot out of the Tempest I could get out of the Fury. That's how I settled on the Fury versus the Tempest. The Tempest is also a less expensive prop, or it was back then. I hadn't priced them in a while. So my experience is, most of us, both of my Bass Cats and both of the last 2 Rangers, I had a 521, I had a 520C, and then I had a 521C. All of those boats ran a 3-blade Fury best for hole shot and for top end speed, except in the wintertime, both of my Cats, when it's cooler, run faster with the 24 pitch. I actually hit the rev limiter on both of them with the 23 pitch. So on the Lynx, I stayed with the 24 pitch year round. With the Puma right now, I'm running a 24 pitch, and it seems to be running pretty good, but I'm really not running tournament loads because it's summertime. I think if I were running a summertime tournament load, I'd have to drop back and run a 23 pitch prop. Okay, so in general, if the hole shot is your challenge and you take all your plugs out and you still can't get it on the pad, you're probably turning too big a wheel. Either your diameter is too big or your pitch is too big, or a combination of both. On the top end, for me anyway, I have found across the board that the 3-blade Fury is the best prop for me. I do find a couple of instances where I really like a 4-blade. I have an older spare 4-blade prop, and I think there's really kind of 3 instances where they really make sense. The first one is in really rough water. If I had to fish Erie on a regular basis, I'd want a 4-blade prop, and that is because the bow of the boat is, and the motor itself is so much more reactive to goosing or coming out of a 4-blade prop. It's just got more bite at lower RPMs, and you can control the bow of the boat better with the 4-blade versus a 3-blade. So that's one instance. The other one that I really think makes a difference is, I grew up fishing the Arkansas River, where it's not uncommon for guys to run really skinny water to try to get in backwater. If that's something you do, you will literally feel, when you get a 4-blade, the boat lifts. It gets so much more transom lift. So if you're trying to run skinny water and still have really good handling, Four blades really handle well because you got so much more prop in the water at any given second. I would suggest to you that's another situation. If you need really good handling, really good cornering, steering, or if you're running really skinny water, a four blade makes sense. If that's what you do all the time. If not, maybe it's a really nice second prop to have, spare prop to have. And actually, probably if you're only going to have two props, that might be the way to go. Now, I will tell you in general, when you go from a 3 to a 4 blade prop, you're going to go up about 1 degree in pitch. And actually, I found something on the Mercury website. So they talk about in the Bravo FS1, the 1FS. If you're coming from a Tempest to the Bravo, they want you to go up 1 degree in pitch, 1 inch in pitch. If you're coming from a Fury 3 blade to the Bravo, you go up 2 inches in pitch. So pretty significant changes in pitch going from a 3 to a 4 blade. My experience also was, even though the 4 blade Fury is a 1/2 inch bigger diameter, I could run a full degree more in pitch in the Fury 4 than I could in the 3 and still get the same RPMs. I just couldn't get as much speed out of it. 3 was just faster prop across the board in my boat. So I hope that is helpful. Again, I think the focus for most Mercury owners are going to be looking at the Tempest 3 or the Fury 3, or if you're willing to spend the money on the Bravo prop. Again, you can buy the Bravo directly from Mercury. You can go to Mercury Racing. And the Mercury Racing prop, it's really hard to get pricing online, but it only looks, say this, it only looks to be a few $100s more. Now, by the way, I get this question a lot: who's your prop guy? I haven't had a prop worked, nor have I bought a racing prop in a really long time. And the reason I haven't is I fish Rayburn and Slate all the time. And when a prop gets worked, a prop gets thinner. That's what they do, right? When they're trying to make those props faster, they thin the blades down, they cut the water better, they get faster. And look, a thinner blade is a weaker blade. There's no other way about it. You got less metal. And the last prop I had worked, I had a guy in Louisiana work a prop for me. Literally the next weekend, I was idling into the canyons and hit a stump, and that prop was never the same again. I hit it hard enough, it probably would have ruined any prop, but it's just really hard for me to spend several $100s. And prop guys, please don't jump on me in the comments below, but it's really hard for me to spend several $100s either on a more expensive prop or on getting a prop worked based upon where I fished. If I fished Dardanelle probably not the best example, but if I fished a deep, clear upland reservoir where I really didn't hit a lot of stuff, it'd be a different story for me. But we Texans and Louisianans, it's really hard to spend a whole lot of money on a prop because props got a life expectancy down here, and it's not 10 years. It's a year or 2 years if you're lucky. So that's what I hope that helps. Again, I'm glad to help you guys any way possible. KenSmithFishing@Outlook.com. Just drop me an email. We'll probably wind up on the phone together. Before you do that, though, just know the questions I'm going to ask you. Obviously, if it's Hshot, I'm going to ask you, is it bogging down or is it spinning up? And if you're looking for top speed, I'm going to ask you what your RPMs are. You got to know that, because if I don't know the RPMs, I can't tell you anything else. I'm going to ask you your RPMs and your top speed, and got to know that data to kind of back into what's going on in your boat. I'll also tell you one of the solves we've done now on several boats that have slowed down by putting lithium batteries in them is a really easy test, is to throw a bag of deer corn in the back of your boat right there in the splash well in front of your motor. And I think we've had 3 people do that, and all 3 of them have picked up speed by adding 50 pounds to the back of their boat, because again, they got lighter in the back and they lost nose lift. We added some weight to the back, and we got a little bit of stern drop, which gave us just enough nose lift to get going fast again. So that might be something you try even before you reach out to me if you've switched to lithiums and it's slowed down. But again, glad to help. I've done a whole bunch of this prop testing and playing with boats, and I'm glad to lend what expertise isn't the right word, what experience I have. So thanks for tuning in, guys. If you don't subscribe, please do. If you know somebody who might be interested in my videos, please share. I said in my video yesterday, My subscribes have slowed down. I'm not posting as much. I still try to post good content, but you know, I'm in the life insurance business, and it's a busy time right now with everything that's going on. But I really appreciate you guys referring your buddies over to me and subscribing and throwing likes. Likes make a big difference. That whatever the heck an algorithm is, the algorithm really likes when you get likes, and it makes them share you more. So thanks for your likes. Thanks for your subscribes. Yeah, sounds better. And we're going out of town this weekend, but we'll be back the following week, and hopefully we can get out on the water a little bit, and I can put the white stuff like the lifeguard does on my lip and get back out on the water. Thanks for tuning in, guys.